welcome, one and all. We are having another emergency broadcast. Although it's a bit of a catch up this one because there's
Yeah.
been so many. We're struggling to keep up. But Warhammer community article dropped today, so we're going to have a quick chat about that. And we are going to have a quick catch up about the mission rules that they dropped a few days ago. So yeah, let's get into it. We've been playing around with our background drops, and
Yeah. I've got like Roberto Guillermo's dong right behind me. I'm just
yeah,
like
I
here's
look
sort of
like my head is where
is actually
Perturabo's
you
head
are
should be,
Perturabo. Yeah,
because
yeah,
before my head was exactly where his crotch was.
yeah. We just love
So
the
yeah.
Primarch so much. Just to say as well, it is hotter than Vulcan's fucking ball sack at the moment, isn't it, in the UK? Oh boy, I'm looking forward to going to Australia where it is currently winter and I can
Oh,
like enjoy the
but what's
cold. So
winter over there? Is that just
I
like
think it's like
60 degrees?
the six. Yeah, I'm hoping for like a
And
16. I can't deal with this
and
heat. It's
and only
horrible.
half the animals are trying to kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, let's hope some are hibernating.
Yeah, yeah. Right, let's get into it then. So, what did we have today? So, they've been talking about the journal Tactica. So, they've mentioned this previously, but they did say that each faction will be getting a Liber book on release, which is obviously great. Apart from Custodes, who will be getting a downloadable free PDF and then a Liber hopefully not too long after release. But this is one of the fears for like Mechanicum players who had to wait a little while for second edition, and then you're kind of eating into that time
They
knowing
didn't
that you.
have, did they have any rules on, like, did they didn't even have a PDF, did they?
Oh God, I don't think they did.
I
No, it was
can't,
just
no.
like you can't play.
They
Yeah,
were just in the wilderness for a
which
very
is
long time.
just mental, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's
It's
horrible.
like
Horrible for those
yeah,
guys, yeah.
yeah. And they have confirmed that there will be free downloadable PDFs for the minor factions, but we still don't know what those minor factions
Oh,
are.
right. It's got to be militia, right?
I
And
hope so.
then, like, I'll be
Demons,
demons,
militia.
yeah, demons militia. I'll be
Um,
interested to see whether they've rolled Sisters of Silence into the Talons, or whether they
ooh,
are counting Sisters of Silence as a little like mini faction.
yeah. And maybe some legacy rules, because I doubt we'll be seeing some of
Oh
the older
man, yeah,
models that aren't sold anymore.
yeah, 100% we'll get some legacy rules. Yeah,
Hopefully, we'll get something like that. But that will be interesting to see. It'd be nice to know, but I guess we won't find out until they drop. But the main meat of the article today was the third edition will be exploring the setting via the journal Tactica. So the journals are similar to the old world arcane journals, or journals as I've spelt it there. I don't play the old world, but I'm guessing it, well, like they've said in the article, it's 48 page kind of softback book where they can just kind of drop little nuggets every
yeah,
so often. This is kind of what we were asking for, really, wasn't it? I know some people in the community kind of hate this idea, but a lot of us were kind of like, I like the idea of just little books that you can just knock out, a month every couple of months, just to keep the game kind of moving along.
yeah. I think there's pros, and I mean I'm sure we'll talk about it in a bit, but I think there's pros and cons, which is that when we get to the contents, perhaps we can talk more about this, which is that the good thing is that it feels like, look, you don't have to, you probably won't have to wait sort of 6 months for a new campaign book to drop. It might be because they're soft back, because they're only 45 pages. I say only,
Yeah,
hey, he says confidently only 45 pages, having never written a book in my entire life. You know, being 45 pages feels like that actually they could probably churn these out every sort of every 3 months.
well, yeah,
And
if
then
not sooner than that.
and
Yeah,
then that
half of it's pictures, isn't it?
yeah, and then that kind of feels like, okay, well that's nice because it feels like the game is constantly moving and things like that, and perhaps the meta shifts as well because you've got new units, and then that will change things, and there's new ways to play, and there's a new right of war or whatever within there. I suppose the negative, the what some people might worry about, is that it's an ever-changing landscape, and so like one of the things that I always heard about 40k, but didn't necessarily kind of like experience myself, was that you needed to be pretty hot on the facts, on the erratas, on the new books that dropped constantly,
Yeah,
because it was an ever evolving landscape. And in order to basically stay in the game, and by that I mean just kind of like keep up to date with everything, you you needed to, you had to invest in these books. You didn't have much choice. And I suppose that would be a worry because people are, oh well, is the latest like awesome unit going to be in there that I need to paint up for my army, or actually can I
yeah,
just play with the original or can I just play with the levers that I've bought and like I can still have a decent, fairly balanced game with my opponent, even if they are using the Isfahan 5 Drop Site Massacre Part 1 book and I am not. So I suppose that's the worry. But for me, I think I'm really keen for the lore. But perhaps we'll talk about that when we get to the content sections.
yeah. So they said in the article they aim to provide a constant stream of content. I added they want your money. But it's kind of a bit of both, really, isn't it? We can't. I feel like we shouldn't really moan about this idea when we had such a long time at the end of first edition where we just had nothing.
Yeah,
And now they're kind of promising to give us a constant stream of heresy, but
yeah,
like obviously you have to pay for it. I
yeah,
mean, it would be amazing if they released these books and then every time there was a new unit, they did a free PDF just of that unit.
yeah,
I don't think they will, but I
yeah,
think that would go a long, because people would still buy the books, but it would go a long way to ease that kind of, oh, well, fucking hell,
yeah.
new units out. Not
But I
only
have
do I
to
have
buy
to
the
buy
book.
the models, but I've got to
Yeah,
buy the rules for it as well. I've
yeah,
brought the Liber and now I have to buy this book.
yeah. It'd be good. I think it's unlikely, but yeah,
No, I think it's unlikely, but
yeah,
it would be. I would be very impressed if that's what they did because that would immediately take away the whole. Because at the end of the day, people are just going to fucking screenshot it, aren't they? Like, if you want a unit, you're just going to walk into a Warhammer world or something and just take a picture of that page.
Yoink.
You know what I mean? There's
Would you
ways to
not
get around it.
condone that
No,
behavior?
no,
But
no. I'm
yeah,
not saying we
absolutely right.
condone it, but people will find ways to get around
Yeah,
it, won't they?
or their mate will just grab one or
Just
whatever.
grab a book and then they'll just
Yeah, we were looking at prices though.
just run around Warhammer World, tearing pages out of people's books.
We were looking at the Arcanas, the major arcana. I want to say major arcanas, but I think I'm thinking of tarot cards here because I'm so into what is they're not general handbooks, are they? What are they
The
called in
old
Old
world
World?
arcane journals.
Arcane journals. So
Yeah,
we did have it literally says right in front of me there.
literally right in front of it.
We had a look at the cost of them. They're £16, right? £16
Yeah,
50 for
yeah,
a
yeah.
45, 48 page book, which just seems pretty reasonable. And I suspect that's what
I
the Heresy
I think that's pretty reasonable, to be
yeah.
honest. 16 quid for a fancy book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's too terrible. I don't, and that was looking on the GW website as well, wasn't it? So you might
Yeah,
even be able
yeah,
to
you
get
might
them
get it cheaper.
cheaper.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose what people like being playing devil's advocate, what people might say is like, yeah, sure, like a one-off book every couple of months for £16.50 is not a lot, but that initial buy-in that you're forcing people to do, which is to probably buy both levers. Yeah, if they've got like a mechanic amount of detachment, I'm gonna have to buy that. Oh, I need to buy the rule book in the new box, and I'm probably
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then before you know it, you're like, oh, here's another 20 quid kicking the balls because I've got to buy the ISFAF. Yeah,
And
so I
then
suppose at the point some people might make is just it's just compounding costs, and it just
yeah, and then also like you know, I want to play a game, so I've got my 15 journal tacticas, each one with a unit in that I want to run.
this is a problem.
Like, oh, that's got the updated rules for this in, so I need to
Yeah,
take that with me, and then I need to take my Liber, and I need to take my rule book, and I guess for me that's the bit where it's like I like the idea of it. I don't really see another way around it without just not releasing anything.
yeah,
Some people liked the old black books where you'd get one, it started once a year and then by the end it was like one every 3 years or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
But nothing really happened, and then you'd have a big burst. I guess, yeah. I guess the main concern is we don't want to be 40k, do we? We don't want facts and updates every
No, well,
week,
it's very hard to
points
keep track.
changes,
Yeah,
constantly changing. I'd rather have things just being a bit overcosted or undercosted than constantly messing around with the points every week. You're
yeah,
like, what the fuck was that? I don't know. I have to go and download the latest fact. I just can't be asked
Yeah.
that. Some people will love it.
The hobby becomes administration
Yeah,
about your
yeah,
army.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, kind of let us know how you feel about it. Are you excited for it, or are you a bit like, oh God, I'm gonna have to buy a million journal tacticas?
It's funny actually. Like I think you know, because often, I mean, we try and put ourselves into your guys' shoes around like how you might feel. We try to give a broad and balanced opinion. I think sometimes it's difficult for us as well, though, because when we see a new book, we often see, sure, it's the rules and to play with, but also we often see, okay, well, we can actually get a lore episode out of this because there's going to be
Yeah,
lore in it and stuff like that. So for us,
yeah.
it's often like our view might be slightly skewed from your view. So it's always good to hear your opinions, because often like me and Lee were literally like talking, well, there's like 10 pages of lore in there for the drop site massacre timeline. We could definitely like get a whole lore episode out of that sounds great. So
And
yeah, but it's good to get everyone's kind of opinions in the comments
and
as
we're
well.
just thirsty for heresy, aren't we?
Yeah,
We
that's it, isn't it?
just
Yeah.
gobble it all up like.
Blah,
So the first journal, which I believe is being released on release date, but I can't
I
remember.
thought so.
I
I
think
thought so
that's
as
a
well.
thing.
Yeah.
The first journal will be titled Journal Tactica, the Istvan 5 Drop Site Massacre Part 1.
Mm.
A nice, short, sweet
Title, yeah.
name.
Very pithy. Yeah.
Yeah, the Istvan 5 Drop Site Massacre Part 1. They did go on to say that they will revisit the Drop Site Massacre, which I quite like the idea of. So there'll be a Part 2, Part 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, each journal will be a 48-page softback book covering campaigns or providing rules for units, missions, and games such as Zone Mortalis. So they did mention again in the article that there will be a book for Zone Mortalis, which is fine.
Yeah.
Each legion will eventually receive its own journal, as well as Titan, Legios, Knight, Household, Solo Auxiliary cohorts, and Mechanicum Tagmatas. So again, as soon as I read this, I was
That's
like, "Oh, that's
awesome.
cool as fuck."
Yeah, that's really
But
cool.
then I guess the flip side is if you run 6 legions, a Knight Household, a Mechanicum
Yeah.
Force,
You gotta pick 'em up.
then you're like, "Oh, fucking hell!"
I
Like,
think the also that like the ordering in which they do them. So are you going to be the
this
last
was what I
legion
was going to say.
to get their
Yeah,
book, and then as a result of that, you've got 3 months to play with all your new cool units, and
yeah,
then we've got a new
yeah.
edition, right? So yeah, that's I think one of the issues of having so many legions, and yeah,
And again, I know they won't do it, but I almost feel like they should just come out and say it now. In 3 years' time, there'll be a new edition of Horus Heresy,
mm,
but all these books will still work, or
mm. Or
because
they won't. Yeah,
you'll get to about year and a half point and be like, you know what, is it worth me
yeah,
starting to get into this? Because
yeah,
in another year,
yeah,
they're going to start the build-up process for the next edition, and
yeah,
this is the flip side. Like we're
yeah.
mega excited for a new edition, but the flip side is. You get to that year and a half, 2 year point, and you
You're probably
start thinking
unlikely
to
to
yourself,
start. So you're probably
yeah.
unlikely to start a new army. Yeah.
So it could have a negative impact on people doing stuff because you're a bit like, well, actually,
Yeah.
I might just wait and
That's
see,
actually a
see
really good
what's
point
happening.
because I have not, apart from a few units for the Ultramarines, in terms of personal hobby, because we knew ages ago that the new edition was
Yeah,
coming,
yeah.
like because we're in the know. Although we literally have said it on basically every episode, and people are still like, "No, you guys are totally
You
wrong."
guys are lying. I hate you
Um,
guys.
and but what the new edition has done for me is basically stopped any hobby
Yeah, 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 yeah,
in terms of new armies or
yeah,
purchasing really new models because I've just been
yeah.
like, I'm just going to wait.
Oh no,
I'll
I've still
just
been
wait.
buying shit. I've still been buying shit. But yeah, no, it's true, isn't it? Because you're a bit
Yeah,
like, I don't know if this unit's going to be feasible. I don't
yeah, yeah,
know if this is going to work.
yeah,
And also, like, a lot of people just get, they just can't be asked, can they? It's like, well,
no,
I know a new edition's coming. I'll just
just
wait.
wait. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do
So,
something in the
and
meantime.
this is the flip side of Games Workshop dragging out their kind of build up to a new edition. It's almost, it just kills off the hobby to an extent.
Yeah,
I still feel like their build up is, a
too
month too
long.
long.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I would. I think you made a comment the other day. It might have been in privately, but basically it's
oh
just
God,
like, oh no, it was on the Powerfest podcast that we were on. You were
right.
just like, It's just like a few weeks too long. Like I'm just ready
Yeah,
to have it now,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
think that I
Like if
probably
they
echo
dropped it
that now.
now, I'd be like, boom, let's
Great,
go. But
perfect.
we know we've got another
Top of the
two.
hype.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
yeah,
But you got another 2, 3 weeks of being like, oh, come on, I
yeah,
just want to see the lever.
yeah,
Um, but I have to say, I am positive for these. They sound good. You know,
yeah.
constant content is good. Hopefully, they will be. You don't have to buy them. You know, it won't be like the greatest super duper most OP unit, and everyone has
Yes.
to buy it to run it.
That is, I think, the number one issue. I think if people have problems with it, I suspect that will be number one, which is like, do
Yeah,
I have to buy this thing to actually stay in the game, or can I actually
yeah.
just is the game well balanced enough that I can just continue playing the game without
Without
these?
it, yeah. I would hope so, but we shall see.
Yeah.
But I am pleasantly optimistic. Here's a map
Oh
from the first
yeah.
book because
This
we
this got
fucking love a map on
This got
Heresy
me,
Helmet.
yeah, this got me fucking
I was
rigid.
frothing for this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
this
was
is.
awesome. Like we were just saying as well before we came on air, that this is one of the things like 3D maps has been, I think, sorely missed in just the Horus Heresy, just in general. Like I often think the Siege of Terror series, like you get these cool kind of like abstract maps, which are kind of really cool illustrations, but I don't think they
Yeah,
give you a good illustration of the scale. The illustration does not illustrate particularly well the scale of the combat, but like these
yeah,
3D style maps, I think like are just much like are much better. What I can't see on this though is like, and what I think would be quite cool is just like kilometers, right? Like a just
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
just to
yeah,
give us
yeah.
a
Just
sense
a
of like
scale.
how big
Yeah,
this is. Is it 100 kilometers? Is it 50 kilometers? Is it 10 kilometers? You like,
yeah,
that's I don't think I could see anything there, but yeah, I really, really, really
yeah.
like this. Yeah, it's gonna
Love
be
a map.
yeah,
Love a map. And then they gave us a little cheeky snapshot of the content.
yeah. This is
So
very
it,
welcome.
yeah, so it looks like kind of as you'd expect. The first half is kind of lore.
Yeah,
We were talking a minute ago, weren't we? The chronology of the drop site
yeah.
massacre is kind of 11 pages.
Mm. I think
So
it would be something like 10 pages or 9 pages, I think,
yeah,
because they often have
and with
frontispieces
picture.
to yeah,
So not a lot of space to get quite a bit of information in.
yeah,
But I feel like these are going to be just little snippets of lore. I
yeah.
don't think these are going to be going overly deep into the lore. I mean,
No. The
we've
law,
got
I
like,
suppose the law exists, right? But in the sense that, and also you can refer back to the Massacre Black Book. Is it two or three? And like that is
I think it was
literally,
the first two, wasn't it? Yeah,
um,
yeah. Can't
it
remember now.
is literally, you know, dozens and dozens and dozens of intricate lore about the Isfan, and then you got
I was going to say there's like
the Black Library novels.
15,000 Black Library
Um,
books.
But one thing I would say is that, and I suspect not a whole load of people have read these, but like with Beta Garmin, I mean, half of that was just basically lore. And actually, we really enjoyed reading that and kind of like going
Yeah,
through those. Like we got
yeah.
like three shows out of those, and that just goes to show you how like how detailed they were. But it does seem that they are that is going to be less like sure there's lore in these but they are less detailed. I mean, will it go into the same detail as like Rogel Dawn basically trying to deal with the Collegia Princeps like revolting because he's about to leave for Beta, Sanguinius is about to leave for Beta
Yeah.
Garmon or whatever. I don't know, or whether it will be just something a bit
I
more
guess
pithy.
I guess the trouble is if they want to release content more often, something's going to have to give.
Exactly.
Like the black books, the original black books were fucking amazing. They
Yeah.
were like the pedestal to compare everything else to. But like we said, you could go 3 years without getting one.
Yeah.
There were people who played their Legion for pretty much the whole of first edition and
And they
never
didn't get
actually
they
had any
got
rules
their
for their
black book.
Legion.
Yeah, that was the issue, isn't it? Yeah.
So that's the flip side. It's like, yeah, you get this amazing lore, all this information. It'd have like a breakdown of how the legions are built up and how each, like the Iron Warriors are beat up.
But they take time to write, don't they?
But it
That's
takes a
the
long time to write, and a lot of it was quite original
Mhm.
content. So that's the trouble, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
they were amazing, but you might not see one for a couple of years.
yeah,
Whereas this, they can just keep knocking them out. You
Yeah.
probably won't get too many pieces of information that are new.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're new to the heresy, then it will be new
It
to
would be
you. But
perfect, right? But I mean, and also
yeah,
just having it in a condensed form and slightly shorter form will be yeah,
yeah.
perfect.
But anyways, yeah. So then you have mission rules. So it's got legendary mission, the first wave, and then battlefield assets,
Yeah,
and then you.
just to say, if you're unfamiliar with like legendary missions, what they kind of what these were is basically they're specifically narrative missions,
Mm,
and they often weren't particularly balanced. They were often in like unbalanced, and it might be that sometimes in the black books, for example, you'd have an army that was 3,000 points and an army that was 2,000 points, right? They are
yeah, 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 yeah,
specifically
yeah.
narrative missions. They are not made for kind of like general gaming, but they allow you to play out. They allow you to play these things out. It is interesting as well, though. This book just says the first wave. So, and I didn't see it. I did read the article earlier, but I assume this is essentially the three, kind of like the first three legions: Iron Hands, Salamanders, Raven Guard landing, and then
Oh, let's look
attacking.
at the map.
Oh, okay, here we go. This is it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And then attacking the Sons of Horus,
Emperor's
the
Children
Emperor's
and Death
Children,
Guards.
the
Oh,
Death
world.
Guard, and the World Eaters as well.
Yeah,
And then so that will be like, I assume, looking at that, that will be the first one. And then the second book, part two, is going to be
the second drop.
the second drop, right?
Yeah,
That kind of makes sense that that's the way
yeah,
to do
like the
it.
Iron Warriors coming in, but everyone coming in
Yeah,
behind, isn't it?
yeah,
And then
yeah,
gunning them down like the
yeah.
dogs they are.
But that's interesting, I think, in and of itself, because the first book doesn't in that way tie in this part one, but doesn't actually tie into the Saturnine box because it's got Iron Warriors in, but the Iron Warriors are going to be in the second
Yeah,
drop. It's
yeah, yeah,
interesting, that
yeah.
isn't it?
I
Yeah,
guess you have to start somewhere, don't you?
yeah,
Although
I
they
guess
got a
so.
picture
Yeah.
of Iron Warriors there, so who knows?
Okay. Yeah.
Primarch
Yeah.
Falls, it
Yeah.
says. So
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
we shall see. And then we've got three additional unit profiles. So we've got Master of Descent,
It's
which
got
I'm
to be.
guessing
Yeah. It's
will
got to
be some
be.
sort of command unit that
Yeah.
allows you to drop
Drop pod.
multiple drop pods, do we think?
I reckon that'll be the case. I think lots of concern has taken place because the deep strike rules and the leaked rulebook basically says you can deep strike for only one
Yeah.
unit, and I'm hoping that this Master of Descent basically allows people to get around that.
We got Ogor. I'm trying to fucking read that.
Augur,
My eyes have
Augur.
gone. Command and Control Squad.
Yeah, so this was really interesting because we actually Kerry in his kind of like savant style analysis actually found this page on the kind of like whizzing through like a
Oh,
millisecond,
okay.
and
Yeah,
this
yeah,
was
yeah.
one. And if you remember when we did that show, it basically says that an Augur command squad, um, it doesn't say this, but
Oh
essentially gives you a
shit. Yeah, I
reaction
forgot
for
all
free.
about this. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
And
yeah.
like it said just above it, like an Augur command squad can take
Yes.
like some weaponry from the Legion like support, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
it
yeah.
can be made from the four units in or the four models in the rapier kit now, right? So you
Yes.
can so it's really interesting. You got the rapier kit, but if you want to use those four guys, they can also double up as an Augur command and control squad as well.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
and it's really interesting because if you actually look at the sprue for the like the I'll just call it the rapier kit, the laser rapier kit.
Yeah.
Like those guys come armed with like Volkite charges, and if you looked at that for the first time, not knowing that, you'd be like,
Ah,
what? Why have these
the
guys got
fuck?
Volkite charges? Like they don't, they like
Yeah.
never ever have laser rapier guys being able to fire their Volkite charges. That's not what they're about. So, this clearly, it's obviously linked here, which is that this Augur command and control squad can take some Legion specialist like weaponry, like
Interesting.
Volkite charges and things like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that's pretty cool. But we do kind of know what it does already, which is it kind of reduces the a reaction so basically you get a reaction for free within 18 inches. You roll on
Yes.
their intelligence, and if the roll goes off, basically that reaction you got for free. It doesn't take it out of your reaction pool or allotment. So
Yes. I had
these might be popular.
I had forgotten all about that.
Oh well, it's lucky I'm here to remind you.
Yeah, that's why
Yep,
you're here,
yep,
not
that's right.
just your good looks. Fuck, I cannot read today. Hyperius
Yeah,
missile tank.
yeah. This is it, and
We
we've got it
had
below.
a sneak peek of this.
Yeah.
I think it was on the initial video
Yeah, it
they
was. Yeah,
dropped,
yeah. It
was
was
it?
that
Yeah.
hour. It was that hour.
Yeah,
Yeah, that hour.
yeah. So we have had a sneak peek of this tank. I think everyone kind of realised this was going to be something that's coming.
Yeah,
But again, this is what I was going back to of like, are you going to have to carry 1,000 books around with you if you want to take
yeah,
certain units?
yeah, yeah.
But we shall see. But yeah, and then
Just to say,
oh,
the
an additional
Hyperius.
prime
Yeah,
advantage.
interdiction.
Oh,
Yeah. So just to say, the Hyperius missile tank it is clearly a kit bash of a Scorpius, um,
yeah.
and then it's had the
Well, there
tarantula.
was there
Um,
not an old Forge World model of
yes,
this very
it's
tank?
not. It doesn't look like
No, it
exactly
doesn't
like
look like
this,
this, but it was
but it.
called the same
Yeah, I think it
thing.
was the Hyperius missile tank. Yeah, but
Yeah.
basically, what this means is that you
It was
can take
basically
that
a whirlwind.
tarantula. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You can take that
Yeah.
tarantula battery that you've just bought, put it on top of a tank, and then you've got your Hyperius missile tank. So it's really, really interesting. I think that these newer kits that they're creating, like they're actually some of them are like dual purpose kits. You know, they're stopping the
Yeah.
kit bashing and just going, look, this can be used for this, and it can be used for this as well. So yeah, so that's really, really interesting.
So
What I think
yeah.
about the Hyperius, like we have seen a little sneak peek of the rules, like from that sheet that you've got, and there clearly are some options. What I don't know with it is whether you can put like the Volkite tarantula on top of it. The fact that it says a
Mm,
missile tank suggests to me maybe not, um,
yeah.
and it's specifically the missiles. But yeah, but that's
So you
yeah,
probably I don't know if you'll be able to see this because my
no, we
fucking
can't,
thing is going
and it's
mental.
just
No,
covered you
it's
up as well.
just fucking. But yeah, it was the Whirlwind Hyperius
Yeah,
was a Forge World model. Um, so interesting. It'll be interesting to see if there are other types of missiles that can go in the back of that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Cool. And then they wrote the armories of the various factions is another rich vein, as will be the case with one upcoming journal taking a deep dive into the history and employment of Saturnine technology by the Legionnaires as starters. So we will get a journal purely dedicated to Saturnine. This will include 2 Legion unique variations of Saturnine Terminator squads and a set of heavy assault themed missions. So we're going to get alternatives to Saturnine Terminator squads, it sounds like 2 Legion unique variations. I don't know if they will only be able to be used by those 2 Legions
yeah,
or if it will be, oh, this is the Iron Warriors pattern, but then everyone used it.
yeah,
We shall see.
yeah,
And then it says another will look at super heavy tanks of Legion as a starters, providing a play mode and other gaming options that make games based around one side filled in these armored behemoths a real challenge for both attacker and defender. So I imagine this is some sort of kind of tank hunting,
yeah,
kill the super heavy. Maybe you can run a list that just lets you take super heavy tanks.
yeah.
We shall see. But that's all quite interesting. I do like the idea of it. It would just be interesting to see
Yeah, the two
how it
Legion
actually works.
yeah, the two Legion unique variations of Saturnine Terminator squads would be really cool. It'd be
It's
cool if
gotta
they just
be.
went like
It's got to be
rather.
salamanders and iron
Well,
warriors,
I was
hasn't
just
it?
literally thinking, I was like,
Surely.
oh, it's the most obvious one, but it'd be cool if they do like a lighter version for like Emperor's Children or something like that. I
Oh,
don't know.
interesting. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I also do wonder whether or not they will do like what will that be? Will that be a plastic kit? Will it just actually be the Saturnine Terminator squads, but they're just like these are a little
Yeah.
bit special because they're painted purple now? Like, yeah, so it'd be interesting to see. But I all of that
Or
looks pretty
yeah,
exciting.
or it's just exactly the same
It's just
kit, but
exactly the
they
same
just
kit. Yeah, they just
have
say,
slightly
oh, these are
different
different.
rules,
Yeah,
which is what I would imagine. It
yeah,
probably will be,
yeah.
or a resin upgrade,
Yeah, yeah, with like weapon upgrade,
potentially.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that
But
they've included it in the same sentence and a set of heavy assault themed missions might suggest that actually it's like, bloody two fists or like a chain fist and a,
yeah, I hope
sort
so.
of
That'd be cool.
a bolter or
And I
something.
imagine we may be seeing more plastic super heavy tanks
Oh yeah,
if
most
they're going to
certainly.
release a book purely on super heavy tanks, but
Yeah,
we shall see. So that was it for the journals. All very interesting, all very exciting. Let us know how you feel about them. And then we're going to do a bit of a catch up because they dropped a Warcom article a few days ago about how missions will run. In third edition, submissions are now 4 battle turns. We've kind of seen this at the end of second edition, but before then, I mean, we used to have 5, 6 turns. You used to get to the end of 6 turn and roll to see if there was a seventh
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah.
So although it's something that's been coming in, this is now quite a big change. Missions are chosen after the points limit for a game is set, which is
I've
interesting.
seen, yeah, I've seen, and then you choose your army, like, right? So you choose the mission first and
Yeah,
then choose your army. I've
yeah.
seen people lose their minds about this.
Oh,
Like,
really?
just chill. Like,
Yeah.
basically, that's never going to happen, is it?
No, you're
Like,
just going to make your army and
you're going to
then
make your
pick a
army go
mission.
to an event and play it. Like that,
Yeah,
it literally,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
just, I think
yeah,
one of the things I would say is that, I mean, again, I'm not a military man, but I assume that when you're, if you're a space marine and you're a commander and you've been tasked with
yeah.
a job, you'd be like, right, this is what you need to do, and then now you
Let's
need to
pick
go
our
away.
forces
Let's
based on
pick
the
a force
mission.
based on the
Yeah,
mission, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so
yeah.
narratively, it makes much more sense to do it that way. But like, that will just, if you're going to an event or something like that, that will never happen. And I think like,
No,
so a
no.
few people I know were like, well, we'll have to roll before we get there. I'm like, you just don't worry about
Chill.
that. Just
Yeah,
just take an
calm
army that
down.
can do everything and roll for it, because like,
Yeah.
yeah, just fine.
But I don't hate the idea of this. Like you say, like, it depends on the situation,
Yeah,
but it's like, oh, we've got to take this hive, so
mm,
let's get all the heavy tanks out. That's not
yeah.
going to work, is it?
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly,
mean?
literally that. Or yeah, well, I'll
Um,
probably need to get chock a block full of flamers, or something
yeah,
like that, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I like the idea of it, but actually, like you say, realistically, it's probably never going to happen.
yeah.
I would love it if an event ran it where, like, yeah, you do that, and then
Yeah,
you
you
got to
got a
bring
sideboard
all
that
your
you can.
models in, and then write a list. Just, but it's not going to happen, but it'd be fun.
Yeah.
So games will be won by accumulating victory points. Yeah, I mean, no change. Primary mission objective is the main way to score VPs. There's going to be 3 missions in the core rulebook, which will all require you to capture objective markers, with each objective being worth between 1 to 3 victory points. Most units can capture objectives by getting a model within 3 inches of the objective marker, so no major changes here. So tactical strength is something
Mm.
new. It's compared when one or more units are contesting an objective. So tactical strength is basically the number of models within range of that objective. So you add up your number of models, add up their number of models. Whoever has the most scores the objective. Have we heard anything? There's nothing mentioned here about contesting, but I
No, I
imagine
don't
you
think
can
so.
still contest. I don't
Yeah, I
know
would have
how
thought
that
so.
will
Yeah,
work
yeah. Oh,
because
you mean if it's equal equals?
well, I don't know because before you could put something on a unit on objective to stop.
But I think that's what the tactical strength means now, right? It just means
Yeah,
that
I think so, but I'm just gonna skip forward because I just want to check something. Um, See, it says here routes an enemy unit that's controlling or contesting an objective. So I don't know what contesting or whether it is just equal number of models it's contested.
yeah.
I'm not
Okay.
sure about that.
Cool.
Anyway, sorry. VPs are scored during the victory subphase at the end of the turn.
Yeah.
Yep, that all makes sense. So then they introduced us to line. So we've had line previously, but this is very different to how it's been before. So some core troops and units like tactical squads and last rifle sections get a boost to their tactical strength from the Line X special rule, allowing them to retain control against a numerically superior foe. This rule also scores extra victory points for controlling objectives, making them the perfect units for holding territory. A tactical squad with line 2, for instance, will gain 3 VP from an objective marker, normally worth 1. So yeah, so if you have line X, you will, if an objective point is worth 1 VP, but like it says here, you have 2 line, you then score 3. It's not just you will score 2, you score 2 and then you add the objective marker as well. So again, like if your objective marker is like 4 and your tactical squad is line 2, you're starting to score a lot of victory points.
Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, I think you made this point some time ago, but basically, victory points are going to be way higher than what we
Oh
used to
God,
in
yeah,
2.0 and
yeah,
first
yeah,
first edition.
yeah. Which is kind of what we've seen on the event scene.
Yeah.
a lot of missions can end up being like 30, 40 points,
Yeah, yeah,
depending on how the mission's written.
yeah.
So then I won't go through all the line actual rule written here, but one thing it does say is furthermore, the value of X is added to the tactical strength of a model that has that special rule to determine its ability to control objectives. So
Okay,
again,
interesting.
if you have line two, then you add two to your tactical strength.
Interesting.
So if you're equal with your opponent, but your opponent doesn't have the line rule,
Then you
then
can
you're
you then
holding
you
that
can
objective.
control it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting. So obviously,
So that makes me think, going back to your original point, that does make me think that actually contesting, you can't contest. It's just a matter of
that's
your
what I mean.
tactical
Yeah, I
strength.
don't
Yeah.
get what contesting is anymore
Yeah.
unless there will be a rule that is like this unit always contests
Yeah.
or if you're just equal. If it's equal then it but I don't
Then it's
understand
contested. Yeah.
what is contesting
Yeah.
because you won't contest, you're either scoring or
Or
not
not.
scoring. But I
Yeah.
guess if
Yeah.
you're
If
just
it's equal,
equal.
then it might be
Yeah.
contested. Yeah.
And then it talks about secondary objectives. So each mission of the three missions from the core rule book will have four secondary objectives, which is last man standing, have more units that are not routing than your opponents at the end of the game, slay the warlord, kill enemy high command units, giant killer, kill enemy warlords, Lords of War and Warlord choices like Primarchs. First strike, wipe out a unit in your first player turn.
Okay, so just a couple of things. First thing just to pull out is that they are all killy. There's no like line breaker, but we did. I mean, we didn't see
Yeah,
line
true.
breaker or things
Yeah.
like that for a long time. The second thing is slay the warlord is interesting because what it says here is kill
High
enemy high
command.
command units. So
Yes.
there are ways to get other high command units in your army, just apart from the one that you're given, which is to take the prime slot. And then I think it's special assignment, and that's a second way to get a high command unit in. So I wonder whether if you've decided to take two high command units in your army, whether that means you
Uh,
like it's not actually just slaying the warlord, it's actually slaying like all the high command units. So,
yeah.
because
Interesting.
I mean, there's no warlord traits, right? I mean, there's no
No.
warlord traits in that rule book, so
Hmm.
it's not like the warlord does anything
Because
beyond just being high command.
for those that don't know, previously you selected a model to be your warlord,
Yeah,
and then if that warlord was killed, you gave up a set amount of victory points.
yeah,
Yeah, interesting. It'll be
it's really
interesting to
interesting.
see if you have to pick. I mean, is the whole picking a warlord just gone now?
Uh, yeah. So that's see, it won't
Because you
matter, I
could
don't think, in the majority of cases, because most people will
no,
just take one high command, but it's where people are take a special assignment. That's where it.
or if you're not taking any high commands, you don't have to take a high command.
No, no,
You can just
actually,
take
actually,
commands.
that's a really good point. Actually, what then happens in that scenario? Yeah, I
Yeah,
haven't seen anything in the leaks that basically
no,
be like, this is your warlord and this is how to choose it right.
yeah.
But
So it'd
maybe
be
we missed
interesting
it.
to
But
see. There might be
yeah,
something that says one of your models has to be,
the,
upgraded to high command, even
yeah,
if it's not high command. Who
yeah,
knows?
interesting.
We'll see. But it could just be that if you don't have high command units, you're
You
not
don't
giving
give up
away
Slay the
victory
Warlord.
points.
Yeah,
Yeah. But most of these are kind of secondary objectives we've seen previously. They're just kind of
yeah, slightly
worded slightly
changed.
different.
Yeah,
And then one thing I do quite like is each mission awards a different amount of victory points for each secondary objective. So depending on the mission
oh yeah,
depends on how many you'll score. So Heart of the Battle
yeah,
gives a balanced 3 VP across the board. The Crucible of War grants 4 for first strike and 2 for the others.
yeah,
So
yeah. That's good.
I quite like that. That's
Yep,
quite cool.
yep. So,
And
but
then,
I just want to just quickly say
yeah.
on missions. So, in 2.0, what you saw was a general trend that you had the rulebook missions. We played with those for a while. I think there were 5 or 6 missions in the rulebook, and then we had the Siege of Cathonia books come out, and then that gave us I think 5 or 6 missions again. And then what
Yeah.
tended to happen is that lots of people tended to play Siege of Cathonia missions, partly I think because number one, they were new, but number two, they were just pretty pithy and fast.
Mm,
And if
mm.
you've got an evening and you want to be back by 10 o'clock, actually just doing a 4 turn quick fire kind of like objective based one was often the way you want to go. What I think concerns me a little bit at the moment is that we'll have those 3 rulebook missions, and then will there be any? additional missions within the levers, because I suspect that those legendary missions that were in the journal will probably be a little bit unbalanced. So are we going to be playing for a while with just three missions? Yeah. For events, I don't think it really
Mm.
matters because basically events just tend to write their missions like
Yeah.
on their own. But will it require people just to go, look, we're just going to play these Siege of Cathonia missions. We're just going to adapt them for the new like secondaries. But they were good missions anyway. We'll just apply the new like line X rule to it and things like that. So
Oh God.
don't despair that we've only got three, but it might just you may just need to kind of bring back some like dust off the 2.0 missions and play those in the
Yeah.
background
Yeah.
as
It'll be interesting to
quickly.
see. I mean, we know. Well, the journal will be getting released, if not straight away, fairly quickly. So that will be another mission there. But
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I wouldn't hate if they just released a journal that just had missions in it,
Yeah. No,
just
neither would I.
a fuckload of missions.
Yeah.
And then, so the last thing they talked about in the missions article was a couple of extra rules. So Vanguard X, found predominantly on Assault and Terminator squads, grants its value in victory points when your unit destroys or routes an enemy unit that is controlling or contesting an objective.
Okay.
I really like this.
So if I've got a Terminator squad and they're Vanguard 2 and they're standing on objective and I kill them, I get 2 VP. Is that what that means?
No, no, no. So if you have a Terminator squad
Right.
and you charge them into your opponent's tactical squad,
Right.
which is controlling an objective,
Yeah.
and you kill or rout that unit,
Yeah.
then you score however many victory points.
Ooh.
So
Oh,
Vanguard,
okay, that's pretty cool.
whatever, for that's how I read it, for
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
destroying
so it gives me an
or
incentive to
routing.
go after
Yeah. So
those weak
rather
little
than
Ripley
holding
units.
objectives,
Yeah,
these
yeah.
guys will be punching things off objectives,
Okay,
which
cool.
is exactly what they should be doing.
Oh, well, perfect for assault squads. Man alive. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because it always seemed a bit daft to me. I mean, I don't hate the idea of assault squads jumping forward to hold an objective,
Yeah.
but I feel like
But
they
that's
should
not what they
just
were
be
for, was it?
no. But then this does limit the amount they can score from controlling
Yeah.
objectives.
Yeah.
So you can only score one
One.
VP.
So it means that everything can score though, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
thing.
So your
Yeah.
Terminator squad can score, but it
Yeah.
will only be scoring one VP a turn. But if
Yeah.
you push it forward,
Yeah.
kick fuck into someone, you score
Yeah.
however many VP for kicking fuck into
And this
someone,
is, I think, just the
and then you
general.
hold that objective, you
Yeah,
will
then you
then
get
score a victory point
okay,
for
a
holding
fair
that
amount of
objective.
VPs. Okay, I mean, it's interesting this, isn't it? Because it's a way to balance like elite armies if you don't want to play with loads of like scoring,
Hmm.
but you need to get the jump on those your opponent's scoring armies quickly and ideally when they're standing on
Yeah.
objectives. I think is the thing I would say. So there's some like there's a bit of a balancing act on that one.
Yeah.
Because
I
I think the thing is, if you don't have a lot of scoring and then you haven't dealt with your opponent's scoring and they're standing on objectives in the first two turns, I suspect that the points will just run away from you. That there's no way
that's a
ever to
risk,
be
isn't
able
it?
to be
Yeah.
able to catch up.
Yeah.
The other thing I will say is that this is just the general trend towards GW and rules design and rule making now anyway, which is that it's really interesting to me, and we spoke about this a couple of days ago, that basically if you kill all my scoring units, I'm still in the game because everything can
Yes.
still
Yeah. Yeah.
score.
Yeah.
And like I've not got to feel bad in that first turn when your headhunters have killed all my scoring units and they've like
Yeah.
routed. Because I'm still in the game to the very last turn because I can
Yeah.
still score
Yeah.
victory points, and then getting rid of sweeping advances. It's just the general games design of GW now is about everybody having a good time and nobody having like that feel bad moment. And I think that this is just something that if we continue playing Games Workshop games, this is just something that everybody needs to accept that actually like it's all the games now design is about everybody having a good time and nobody feeling like they're a loser,
Yeah.
which is an
Which
unusual thing to say,
fine.
but yeah,
But just good.
yeah,
It's good
yeah,
that people won't lose all
yeah.
their tax squads turn one and be like, well, I
I
can't
can't
fucking
play
do
anymore.
anything
Yeah,
now.
yeah, 100%.
But also, I just think it adds a little bit of flavor to other units like assault squads
Yeah,
and whatnot that you
100%.
don't necessarily,
Oh man,
outside of Blood Angel players and
yeah.
whatnot, you don't really see a
Well,
huge amount
I
of.
mean, there is. I mean, if you think it through on the table, there's some complexity about whether how you're going to use those. Like, just take
Yeah,
an assault
yeah,
squad.
yeah,
Are you going to try and smash your opponent's tactical squads early on before they get to objectives, and assault them, or are you going to just wait a turn and go, right? I'm going to wait till they're on the objective,
yeah.
and then I'm going to launch an assault into them,
Mm-hmm.
in order to gain to gain my Vanguard X points and then
Yeah,
gain a victory there. So
yeah,
there is there's quite a lot of complexity, I think, and this will come in game. I think that the really decent players will really understand when to
yeah,
launch an assault with your
yeah,
Vanguard units. That
yeah.
it will separate the amazing players from the decent players, I think.
Mm. So yeah. Um, And then the final rule was expendable X. So this reduces the amount of VP a unit awards when it is destroyed to a minimum of one.
Okay.
And then the example they gave is a tarantula battery is expendable 3. So if you score VPs for destroying it in the first turn of a mission that has first strike 4, you will only score a single VP, which is fine.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't hate that.
Don't
It's
hate that.
basically,
Yeah.
Tarantula Battery is not the most strategic asset on the battlefield,
Hmm.
so why should you get 4 VP for destroying it? It's just an
Well,
automated gun
I mean
platform.
that was also one of the things about rhinos and first strike, right? Which is that
Yeah, like
I mean
you've
I
blown
don't
up
know
some
if
shitty
rhino
tank,
literally
and
that, right?
yeah,
Yeah, like I don't know whether rhinos will have expendable 3, or expendable of any kind, but it's a good point, which is like, oh, you get first turn, you're like, this is going to be an easy VP for me, and actually you're just like, well, that's fine. If you want to shoot that thing first and kill it first, that's fine, but you're only going to get one VP. Right?
yeah,
So.
yeah, which
And I
is
think
yeah,
again, this will separate the really, really good players from the average player, which will be about kind of going, look, you know what, to get a head start on these VPs, I'm going to go that is easy, but I'm going to go for something more juicy. It's going to be harder to kill, but yeah,
or you may be like, I really need to get rid of that unit,
yeah,
but it's gonna absolutely fuck over my first strike.
yeah,
But actually, I really
just get rid
need
of
to
it.
get rid of that.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm gonna take the hit on the VP. So yeah, I just think uh,
like it a lot. Yep, it's good. I
fairly
like it's one of
simple
these things.
rules that just add a little bit of a complexity or seem
Yeah,
to be.
and actually, like, it's funny because it's interesting because the stuff that excites me is actually the Legion stuff and seeing the special characters and special rules for those kinds of things. But this bit, last two slides, this is how you win a game. And if you're
Yeah.
interested, that's not what necessarily Horus Heresy is about. But if you're interested in trying to give your opponent a good game, understanding these last 2 pages, that's what
Mm.
the gaming is all about, really. So yeah.
Yeah, I like it a lot. But I guess the thing is, like I keep saying, until we see the levers, we won't know. They're like tarantulas
Yeah.
might be the only unit with
That has
expendable
expendable,
special
yeah.
rule. You're like, well,
I
actually,
assume
all right.
tech thralls probably have expendable in some way.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It just adds. I think
Scouts,
it's quite a nice way of.
Legion Scouts expendable. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, like that.
Yeah, I just think it adds a bit of flavor. It adds a bit of fluff, but also, yeah, like, well done, you've shot that fucking tarantula, and now you've just won 4 VP. Well
Yeah,
done, you slow
yeah,
clap.
yeah, yeah,
Kind of gets rid of that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see. We won't know until we see the Libras.
yeah. Hello. So, me and Lee, we finished recording our show, and then we found that there was literally an article just posted up
Motherfuckers.
while we were recording. So we decided to insert this bit in. So it's going to be a little bit out of sequence, but hopefully we can mush it and mash it together to make it seem like it's seamless. So I think this is the articles that people have been waiting for, and this is the first of 5 articles this week, and this is essentially the Loyalist Astartes. So the first one is the Loyalist Astartes faction focus. It is literally just what like dropped. So this is like a live reaction. We've just had a quick kind of like read through it. They got Matt the playtester. I don't know who Matt is. but he's a playtester and he's kind of like talking through some of the strengths of the Loyalist Legion. So I think the first thing to say is that Rights of War, and I think we have kind of maybe mentioned this on the show previously, Rights of War are gone in the sense of what we understood about them in 1.0 and 2.0. So as Matt says in the article, and if you're new to the Horus Heresy, rights of war essentially were ways to manipulate the force organization chart. So a good right of war and a good example that Lee always liked to take was Pride of the Legion, which allowed Terminators to be your troops choices. So it meant that Lee was able to create a super elite army, with a low model count, and he could get it on the board. Probably quickly would be the wrong word, but he could get it on the board. But rights of war, as we understand those, are gone. My gut reaction to that is I don't like it. I think Rights of War really offered a lot to each legion, and I think it's sad to see them go. However, Rights of War now, we will probably talk about this at another point, and the good, the bad, and the ugly of the new edition. But Rights of War now is an overarching kind of like heading. It's an umbrella term for everything that's included about the Legion. So it includes Legion gambits, advanced reactions, their auxiliary and apex detachments that are specific to the Legion. Essentially, Rights of War is the umbrella term for everything that makes your Legion kind of like flavorful. I think like I really don't like, because they haven't mentioned warlord traits once, so I think that's definite confirmation now that we don't have
Yeah.
warlord traits within for the legions, and I suspect for any faction. So they're gone, and Rights of War are gone. Two things that added a lot of flavor to armies in 1.0 and 2.0, and personally I really liked 2.0, the fact that you could just choose a warlord trait and then base your kind of like that unit, that person, your army around
Yeah.
it. Why they've done it, I don't know. Maybe it was a balancing thing. Maybe they found it impossible to balance the Rights of War. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe they found it
I
impossible to balance the Warlord traits. But my gut is I really don't like it. I think is something I would say. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, so we've kind of had this conversation before, and I'm kind of the opposite. Like
Right.
I'm not really that bothered. I think it was a good way to add flavor to your warlord, but I
Yeah.
also think people just ended up taking the most powerful ones they could.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean
Or
that's it. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
went the other way and just forgot about it. Like
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
time people just be like, "Oh fuck yeah, I had
I
this
forgot to
thing
do
that I
that thing.
could
I've
have
got to
done,"
roll.
but
I often did that with my Sons of Horus one. I forget to roll
yeah.
at the beginning of the turn. Yeah.
So I think it's a shame, but I'm not as bothered as you are. The
Yeah.
Rights of War, I liked Rights of War because it gave you a flavor to your force, but I felt like, especially in second edition, the restrictions outweighed a lot of the right wars that, again, I just kind of saw people taking the most powerful, obvious ones and not actually taking the cool ones because your example of Pride of Legion, well, you only ended up with two Terminator squads that had line.
Yeah.
You could only take one heavy support slot, like
Yeah.
so you ended up having to take, kind of contemptors and rapiers in your elite. So it really restricted what you could actually take in that force, which I would the amount of times in second edition I'd have an idea for an army and I'm like, oh, this will look fucking brilliant on the table, and then you're like, nope, can't do it because
Yeah.
this restriction doesn't let me to
Yeah.
take that
Won't let me
thing.
take heavies or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So again, Rights of War, I'm not that bothered,
Okay.
but I do understand where you're coming from.
I suspect it's because like my two Rights of War, the Logos Lectora and Headhunter Leviathan, were
What
basically like the two best in the game, right?
absolute
So
filth. So yeah, there it is.
right, okay. Well, anyway, but we've lost warlord traits and we've lost rights of war as we understand them. It's going to be confusing because I'm going to say we lost them, but actually we still got them. But we did,
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
gain gambits and we gained these auxiliary detachments as well. So I think my gut says that auxiliary detachments are not, and these additional apex detachments are not going to set the world alight. I think that it's going to be a box with 4 or 5 circles in it with different things like one troop, one support. one tank
Yeah,
and one
yeah.
command, and each legion will be slightly
So
different, an iteration of that.
what I would say, and I'm guessing this isn't going to happen, it would be nice with these Legion detachments if they had some sort of rules with them. So it's
Yes,
not just you can
a
take this,
box,
this, and
a
this. Yeah.
box. Yeah, yeah.
If it was, I don't know, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Like, but Iron Warriors can take this, this, and this, and they can re-roll to hit with
Yes.
artillery units or something.
Or these
Something.
units in this detachment can do, yeah, plus
Yeah.
one to
So
wound or something.
I don't think we will see that, but because then that would almost make up for the lack of Rite of
Right of
Wars
war.
to add a
It
bit of
would be a good
flavor.
replacement. Yeah, yeah.
But I don't think we'll see it.
No, I don't either. Anyway, so yes, let us know what you think in the comments below because I suspect, and I haven't checked out the Heresy Hammer WhatsApp group, but I suspect lots of people have got lots of things to say about this. But we did get a few cheeky morsels, and I think we are very lucky, or Space Wars players are very lucky to find out what their Legion rule is. And it's interesting because they've called it specifically Legion Tactica,
Mm.
and their Legion rule is going to be now. Space Wars make a longer setup move, so models with this special rule must add +2 to the distance of any setup move to a maximum of 6, and that's it. That's their Legion rule. Like that is it. Now that's going to be particularly useless on tanks. I suspect tanks no longer gain benefits to Legion rules, or certainly Space Wars tanks. That's not going to
Well,
benefit
not
them
this
very
because they
often.
won't be charging, will
No,
they? So this
exactly.
is you'll have to charge to get this off.
Exactly right. So that means that your tanks basically are not going to benefit from Legion War. Although I think that was probably like similar to before. I don't think their tanks gained anything.
No.
But yeah, so yeah, it's okay. It's all right. Like it's going to get you into combat quicker, and you might be able to avoid a volley fire because of those +2, because of that +2, which will be
Yeah.
nice. Your normal tactical Marines or whatever you've got are going to be basically their setup move is going to be 6 inches now, which is pretty tasty. It's going to be
I
5 or 6 inches,
yeah.
whatever it is.
I like it.
So
I don't hate it.
no, I don't hate it. Yeah, it's not. It's not sexy, but
No.
it's all right. Yeah, it's not.
But I think on its own we can't really judge, can
No,
we?
no, no,
I
no.
I, I think
Because yes, the rankings of the rules it's nearly impossible at the moment to kind of be like, oh, well, this is good or this is bad because like
we
one
don't know.
legion might have something utterly
Yeah.
like dreadful. So yeah, but we did get a decapitation strike gambit. So this is decapitation strike is what used to be the actual name of the rite of war. So they've kept some of the names, but they're all slightly different things. So
Yeah, they like
the
to do this, don't they? They
yeah,
do this with like the old world and Age of Sigma, where they'll bring out some
the
rule
same name
from
but
years
different.
and years ago.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
different rule. So they've got a gambit. I won't read through the whole thing, but essentially this allows a model to make a single attack first. And I assume even even if they've lost the focus roll, it allows them to make a single attack first, followed by the remainder of their attacks if first is successful. So that's pretty good. So it
Ooh.
just means that when you use that gambit, you choose to use that gambit, you kind of go, okay, I get one attack if it was successful, and I assume it means successful if it wounds, then they can do
So
all their
yeah, if
other
the hit
attacks.
test and wound test made for this attack are both successful, I actually really like
This
this.
is this is actually I can see
Yeah.
being pretty good actually. Yeah, this is
But also like, oh, do I? Because if I
yeah,
miss, oh, then I don't get all my other attacks.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I quite like this.
yeah. I
I
like that.
like that a lot actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that? So it says the model for which this gambit is selected may not make can make no further attacks during the strike step. Oh, this strike step it says. This strike step.
Yeah,
I
if
think they
either
can
the
still
hit
do it.
test or wound test made for the initial attack are not successful, the model for which this gambit is selected may make no further attacks. So you can make a single attack first,
Mm.
but if you don't hit and wound, then you make no further attacks. If you hit and wound, then you can go on to make
Yeah, but
the
you can
remainder
still
of the
get your attacks
attacks.
after your opponent's if your opponent goes. Oh, that's interesting,
Strike
isn't it?
step. So no, that's it.
Oh,
That turn, that round of your challenge is how I'm reading it. Is
okay,
then
interesting.
yeah.
We
So
won't look
you've
into
got
it
a
now,
bit
but
of
somebody in the comments can tell us whether you get your attacks or not. But
it's a bit of a
basically,
gamble, isn't it? I see this as a
yeah,
bit of a
I like
gamble.
that. I like that. I guess
Yeah.
that, what's also good about this is that it's not just like character or warlord locked, right? It's like all of your Raven Guard like champions and
Yeah, yeah,
right
yeah.
command can do this. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
I mean, I guess that
Oh
is
yeah,
on the
sorry.
flip side. Sorry, just
Yeah,
because,
no, go
yeah,
for it.
like before, this is the sort of thing that would be a warlord. What do you call it? This is the sort of thing a warlord would have been able to take
Yeah,
as
yeah, 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 yeah.
what was it called? Fucking hell,
Like
I'm
they're
losing my
warlord
mind.
traits. They're warlord
Yeah,
traits.
warlord
Yeah,
trait. That
yeah,
is kind of the sort of thing that you would have had previously as a warlord trait.
yeah, yeah,
Whereas now, anyone that can make a challenge
yeah,
gets this.
yeah.
So you're actually sprinkling a little bit of that flavor throughout the
Yeah, I
force.
like
It's
that.
not just your
It is
warlord.
interesting though. It's a once per challenge gambit. That's really, really
Oh,
interesting.
okay,
Yeah, so
yeah.
you can't just reuse it over and over
Keep
again.
doing
So
it.
yeah, okay, once
Okay.
per challenge.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
a
yeah.
bit of risk reward there.
Yeah, I like
Okay,
it.
so let's have a look at the Dark Angels advanced reaction, and I think that we're starting to get a sense of how well we really know how these reactions are working. And I think that the other thing is that they've broken it down for us. So it's like you've got the bold sentence, then you've got the trigger, and then the cost, and then the target. So they've really tried to kind of like make it as simple as possible.
Which I like, yeah. Because some
So
reactions previously were like, oh,
yeah,
what the
yeah,
fuck?
yeah,
Who's doing what, when,
yeah.
where, why?
So this is the Dark Angels reaction. It's called Vengeance of the First Legion, which is pretty cool. And if you're unfamiliar with advanced reactions, basically you get to use it once per game. Like it's an ace up your sleeve that you can use that might turn the tide of battle in your favor. So this reaction allows the controlling player to choose to repeat the fight sub phase. So if they're just kind of like, you know what, I just want to fight again, take down more of your guys, I'm just going to use this advanced reaction. Now, reactions tend to happen, or they happen in your opponent's turn. So I assume that you can't use it, you know, you're not going to be able to use it in your turn. So the trigger is once per
Yeah,
battle,
interesting.
the reactive player may declare the vengeance of the first legion after the last initiative step of a combat that includes a unit under the player's control, which only includes models with the Dark Angels trait, has been resolved, but before make final pile and move steps. I will say that if you've never read advanced reaction before, that might sound like a lot of words. Believe me, it is not in comparison to what we were dealing with before. So
Yeah.
this cannot happen in your turn. It's got to happen in your opponent's turn. So you can choose to fight again in your opponent's turn. Um, the cost is one reaction point, and then the target is of course the unit that you're in combat with. And the point that Matt the playtester kind of makes is that this is really good for like inner knights, inner circles, Zenobium or Deathwing companions, because they are tend to be close combat beasts. So if they want to go a second round, combat hasn't quite gone your way, or the way that you wanted to do, or you really just want to kill a unit and make sure it's properly dead. You know, you've always got that one guy that's left over, and you're like, oh, I just want to just make sure he's dead, then you can go again. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. And then finally, Matt also says you have unique prime upgrades which apply a thick coat of Legion gloss over common units. The Imperial Fist Castellan is a great example, modifying a Centurion to capture their role as a defensive heavy weapons expert and line officer as well. So that's really, really cool, isn't it, actually? Because it's a prime upgrade. Ooh, I tell you why that's really good, because it's going to force people to not necessarily take logistical advantage. Because one of my big worries so far is, and lots of conversations I'm seeing, is people being like, I'm just going to take three dreadnoughts as my logistical advantage,
Yeah.
and then they're like, ha, 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 so I don't need any command. And you're just a bit like, well, I'm not necessarily sure that's how it's meant to be intended. But if you are being like forced to upgrade a Centurion to a Castellan using a prime benefit, you're like, well, that means you can't use logistical advantage now. So you've got there is there's a trade-off, and it's a harder choice to make, which I think is really, really good.
Hmm.
Um, so Matt said that the Humble Legion Centurion is his number one for his standout units, whereas before they were taken because folk couldn't spare points for a champion but wanted the weapon skill buff. They're now a critical pillar in army construction, just how they should be. That I agree with. The fact that they have Officer of the Line too, I think, is that like I would imagine every list is going to have a Legion Centurion, or like 90% of lists are going to have them. Matt also said that he's going to give the Medusan Immortals his second slot. The new unit rules will really represent their background as the Forlorn
Ooh,
Hopes troops. Shields expendable too. Holy,
that's
this links to
fucking
what we were saying
filthy,
before.
isn't
That's
it?
really cool.
Yeah.
Um, and very high leadership and cool, makes them unflappable in the meat grinder. That's absolutely awesome. I wonder if this is the Matt that we know who plays Iron Warriors, who's one of the playtesters. Ooh, he's done a blog post for us. I wonder if it's that Matt, because he plays Medusa and Immortals. And then lastly, I wouldn't be an Imperial Fist player. Oh no, he's an Imperial Fist player. There we go.
Yeah.
If I didn't put Sigismund up there as a mighty weapon skill 7, 5 attacks, and a custom gambit to improve his critical hits, he's there. Yeah, that's interesting because the Black Sword had critical hit 6 plus, I think, or something like that.
Oh,
So
God
that's
knows.
interesting that his gambit kind of increases his critical hits. And with how much fun challenges are now, he's doubly worth it. I could write another whole article on all the cool changes coming with this
Uh,
edition. But he says there's more nuanced scoring both of our objectives, which we have
yeah, we talked
literally,
about this.
literally just
Yeah.
gone through as well. Ah, man, what a cool little article.
Mm,
That was great. I'm absolutely I'm thirsty for more information, and we're getting a traitor
thirsty.
article to tomorrow. Um, yeah, what's your gut on that one, Lee?
Yeah, I like it. Like you say, some people won't, some people will.
Yep.
Losing rights of war, um, you know, is
Losing Waller
it's
traits.
all a change, isn't it? It's all a
Yep.
big, big change.
Yep.
So yeah, some people
Yeah,
like
I
it, some
I
people
think
won't.
they were. I don't think they were honest in that first article about how much this
No,
edition has
no,
changed. And
yeah,
actually, I think
like
that at the top of this article, they have rode back a little bit because they said, what did they say? Um, uh, so I think they just rode back a little bit on the article, just saying that it's kind of slightly different to what we have seen, kind of like what you have played previously. Um, Oh, here you go. They say under Rights of War, it will have become clear to existing players that the rules for the Space Marine Legions have changed quite a bit from the previous rule set. Yeah, well, fucking no shit, Sherlock. Like, like this is actually what they should have said in that first article is Horus Heresy is getting a complete and utter revamp because it doesn't
yeah,
look like
I think there
anything
would
that,
be a lot less salty people if they just come out and said, you know what, this is an entirely because
yeah,
a lot of people were just hoping for a slightly updated
yeah,
second edition,
yeah,
weren't they?
yeah, yeah,
And I think you set you set expectations, don't you, by saying, look, this is like
yeah,
completely new game. Like,
yeah.
you move, you shoot, you fight. Other than that, it's pretty much
A new
changed.
game, right? Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is. Here we
Okay,
are. But
well,
yeah, I like
let's
it.
finish up with the show. We'll do the ending that we originally recorded, and that's going to be now. And I'm sure it will all make sense and be seamless by the time you guys are watching it. Anyway, right, let's carry on.
But I think that is it. That is it. That's all we have for today. If you'd like to support us, head over to our Patreon, Heresy Hammer Patreon. We are putting posts up daily of our next top tier giveaway. We are doing some tarot themed jumpers just in time for winter. But yeah, that's it really. Unless you got anything else to say, Rob?
No, just make sure if you are somebody who's looking to book some events, we've got our heresyhammer.com, our website, where you'll find a UK events calendar on there. You'll also be able to access our WhatsApp community chat through the website as well. You'll find under the community section of the website, there is a place where you can find the community rules, who the admins are, but also a link to that as well. So that is really becoming our hub for kind of like connecting with the wider community. So if you haven't gone on there yet, please make sure you go visit heresyhammer.com and you'll find lots of blog posts as well that will kind of interest you about people's armies. We've just the most recent one has gone up, which is James's Sons of Horus, which are, I think, and it's I say this with confidence, one of the finest forces. One of the finest armies in the world in terms of Horus Heresy. Like
There
they
you
are
go.
so good. They're
Check.
the Sons of Horus that we saw at that rapid fire
Yeah, yeah,
gaming
yeah, yeah,
camp.
yeah,
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 absolutely awesome. They're
yeah.
amazing.
Make me sick.
Well, with
Uh,
that,
right. Cheers, guys.
take care.